What's up, guys? We've got another awesome episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh! Show. We got our boys Dan and Andre here as well. Now, look, I'm telling you guys, it's been a very, very, very interesting month for all of us. I mean, firstly, Rescue is the best deck. I know you guys are not tired of hearing that. But also, I feel like we've had a lot of new releases and all of these kind of things. We've had a lot of, I don't want to call it drum, but a lot of exciting things have happened in the community. Some people have been released. Which I definitely think we need to talk about. But yeah, do we want to get into one of those topics first, or is there something particular that's on one of you guys' hearts?
I'm thinking we start off because I think we're going to be talking a lot about product this episode. So I think let's jump into the player ban list nice and quick.
Yeah, so the player that I think it's mad that I don't think any other game has a player ban list like this. Like, or if they do, it's not like this deep. But like when the player ban list dropped, it was quite mad. Like when I looked at it, I was like, oh, all these people are banned. So I feel like the two probably like most notable ones is Lofton and Distant Coder both got unbanned now. So they are both back in the TCG. And both of them literally went to locals like that day or the next day.
They won in it. They won out.
Both of them won, yeah. So yeah, it's quite good news. There was actually someone else who was put on the list. I don't know why they were put on the list. I'm not speculating.
It was the world champion.
Yeah, that's it. Paulie was put on the list. Yeah,
Yeah.
so he said, do you guys know the reason why? Or should I have a rough understanding of what happened, but not like I read the post.
The way that I understand it is that he was in a remote duel tournament. He written incorrect deck list, dropped from the event, then re-registered, and that is against Konami policy. So he received a 6-month suspension for that, as far as I'm aware.
Okay. Yeah. That's about my understanding. So I'm just gonna share my opinion on that stuff. I think at first when I first read, I was like, oh, that's so like annoying. I was like, I don't think that's really good. But on further reflection, I actually can't lie. I think it's actually a really fair punishment. I think that. Do you know why? I feel as though if Konami had allowed him, it kind of like it's unfair to other people who get banned for a similar thing. And it's like it's something that they have clearly outlined in this policy. Even Paulie said that he was even told by a judge at the event. And so I think all of that being said, I actually think it's kind of fine. And a 6-month ban, even though like is like if you play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot, especially if you're a world champion, chances are it's a big part of your life. I feel as though a 6-month ban is not that deep. Like you will be back soon to play the game again. You can almost take it like a vacation. Like I've just won the world championships. I can chill for a bit. So I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree, to be honest. At first I thought it was a little bit harsh, but then at the same time I kind of stopped and then kind of like thought about it, and it does set a precedence for people who intentionally would do something like that. Do you get what I mean? Because I don't think what he did was intentional by any means. Like he was upfront about what exactly he was gonna do, and it was just a little bit of lack of oversight, but it's still an infraction of the rules. So I feel like players now will think, if the world champion can get banned for doing something so silly, I need to make sure that at least my stuff is up to scratch and know what I'm doing. And it just means that like more events of that nature will run a lot more smoothly because people are very aware of like basically making any kind of like minor infractions. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I think it's horrible that he's had to be made an example of, and I'm sure Konami probably looked at it and thought, you know what, don't know if I really want to be doing this. The world champion is like flying the flag, it's an advertisement, and then it's like banned. So yeah, but it was correct. It was correct if they're being consistent. So
It feels like such a Yu-Gi-Oh thing to just have the world champion banned.
It really
Does anyone else get that?
Yeah, I was rattled. Even when he first said it, I was thinking, what could he have possibly done to got... I was like, Paulie as well is like, he's not even a controversial guy. Like, he's just some nice guy who occasionally you see him on the profile. So it's like, yeah, it's a very Yu-Gi-Oh thing. Yeah.
And as usual, the memes were flying and it formerly previously not on the list. They did see his name forbidden. It's like
it's crazy, man. I feel like we need to have what's his name, the guy who was on before. I've forgotten his name, which is really bad. But the guy who did the bandness video where he's like he doesn't know what he's talking about. Do you know?
Ruxin. How can you forget Ruxin?
He needs to do one of those, but on the players. That needs to be the next bandness video he does.
Oh my! You know what? I might actually message him.
I think that'd be sick.
But just to expand on what Andrea said there, to be honest, I kind of agree. Like I do think it's good that Konami is showing people that no one's untouchable in it, anyone can get it. But also, I do feel a bit bad for him. But then it's like it's just a 6-month break in it, and it's not like he's going to be pushed. It's not like he's going to be banned indefinitely, right? like some other players have been for incorrect or correct reasons. Yeah, free Tatson. But
I'm just gonna take a drink. Yeah.
yeah, pour one out. But yeah, it's just I can't help but laugh, to be honest with you, because it is just so on the money. Like, people are like, "Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh's not like that bad. Yu-Gi-Oh's not that, there's not that much drama or anything going on in there." And it's like, "Oh, our world champions, man." Oh, okay.
On a side note, this is not related to Yu-Gi-Oh, but I'm still going to mention it because I think it's really interesting. So I don't know how into League of Legends you guys are. I'm very into League of Legends. The League of Legends World Championships was on Saturday, and have you guys at least heard of the player called Faker?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously Faker got his fourth world championship now. On Sunday. It's actually insane. The reason why it's so insane was because if you look at like the longevity of him, he's been the best player pretty much since 2012. Like the most accurate comparison is if you looked at Messi. You know how Messi's been in Barcelona and just been winning everything and been awesome for ages. Then he eventually left Barcelona. Faker's like that, but he hasn't left his Barcelona yet. So it's like, and he's completely uncontroversial, and just, I think it's really cool. I, even though this is not linked to you, I do still think it's really nice to see in a game a player who's just been at the top of his game for ages. And I was watching the World Championships with my best mate, and seeing this guy play, what is it now? Again, yeah, so this is like his 8th, 10th year or whatever of playing. This guy was doing some magic on the keyboard. And like, I used to be really into League, so it's like there's a certain level of literacy you often need in the game to understand what's happening. So it's like, even though I'm not good at League anymore, I can see what he's doing. And it's like, I could never do it, but I also know that most people can't do it. Like, yeah, like he was just playing so insanely, playing so well, all of this stuff. And so, yeah, just congrats to Faker. The League World Championships was awesome to watch. And also just another slight dig at Konami, get your shit together, because League has way better World Championships than you. So, yeah, like, I don't play League anymore. And I sent a message in my friend's group chat and said, next year, guys, who wants to go and watch the League World Championships? I'm not saying that shit for Konami, because I don't want to go and then get turned away at the door. So it's like, yeah, they need to fix up, but yeah,
they need to make it more of a spectacle, innit? Like, not just kind of just put it on for the sake of it. Because I think we all seen the venue, and it was a bit like
the back rooms. Yeah, I mean, 2019 was quite a big year, like in terms of like spectacle. That one was good. They had the Yugi Kaiba voice actors. They had all the stuff going on there. But yeah, overall, I do get what you mean, Babs. And it is nice to have someone who is like a champion at something, who just is not like just a nice person, and like someone you could see as a good role model.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm really hoping that this Faker is a nice person, because the only Faker I know, the only Faker I know is the one that just summons off Imperm, and I hate it.
He went there.
Went there. But going on to our next topic. Last episode we talked a little bit about the rarity collection, and it seems like everyone's opinion in the market has done a bit of a 180 since Age of Overlord and Valiant Smashers have come out. I don't know about you guys, but like I've definitely been hearing this discourse that Yu-Gi-Oh's becoming really expensive again. And what do you guys think about it? Because I've got my own opinions on it, but I want to hear what you guys have to say about it first.
You're going to hear me say something that most people probably have never said in their lives, which is I agree with Chris Lofton on this take. I agree with Chris Lofton.
Right, okay, we're going to get some...
What's the other guy? So another guy said it as well, Jeff Jones, maybe? I don't know. But basically, I don't think Yu-Gi-Oh is actually too expensive for a hobby. I don't think it is. Okay. I think if you are... like in this country, because I know, for example, if you're in like South America or whatever, it's like people are telling me that it costs like a quarter or half of their paycheck for a meta deck. That one, yeah, I get it. But in this country, $1,000 a year on a hobby isn't that much. Like I've had
it is still a lot of money though. Like,
I don't think so.
In the grand scheme of things.
No, I don't like. So let's say, for example, you get paid $30K a year. Not even $30K. The average salary I think is like 28. Or something. So you get paid $28K a year.
Maybe 24, 20...
Well, we can even say 24. 20. We can say 24, yeah. So your take home is about 1,700 if you're getting that. If you're getting paid 24 a year, your take home is about 1,700. So I'm basically saying in a year, it's about half of a paycheck, or even one paycheck is going to a hobby. I don't think that's a huge amount. Like personally, I think $1,000 a year for a hobby, in my opinion, isn't that much. I also think that part of the reason why most Yu-Gi-Oh players think Yu-Gi-Oh is really expensive is because they are not. There's not a level of literacy and understanding on how to do the hobby cheaply. I had the same problem when I first joined. And what I mean by that, I'm going on a tangent, but I'm going to explain it because what I mean by that is when I first joined, I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh! I would just buy cards randomly. I didn't know what I was doing. You see this card? Oh, it's good in this deck, I'll buy it. You see that card? Oh, it's good in the deck, I'll buy it. You go to locals, you're not very good, and you're draining every week, and you're spending £5 and then £5 on sleeves and blah, blah, and it racks up and the costs get higher and higher and higher. And then what happened is, as I got better and better and better, it got to a point where it's like I have one deck. So I'm not changing a deck every week. So firstly, that reduces the cost hugely. Because if you play a different deck every week, or even a different deck every month, that increases your cost massively. If you play the same deck, like, for example, right now, I'm playing Rescue Ace. I've been playing it since February.
Are you? You've never mentioned it.
I've been playing this deck since February, and I've probably spent about... And I'm going to remove the cost of the rarity upgrades I'm doing because I don't think they count. As in, that's intentionally I want to spend that money to play the game. It costed me about £100 to get my initial Rescue Ace deck, probably another £300 to get the rest of the staples. I'm not even counting the fact that I've gained money back from winning locals. Like I'm plus in terms of locals, how much money I've got from winning events. So it's like, the amount of money I'm actually spending is very low to play the same deck every week since February. And most new players don't do that. And so they spend more money than they need to.
Mm.
And so all of that to say, basically, I personally don't actually think it's that much money to spend on a hobby. I think it's okay. Maybe compared to other card games, it's a lot, but for a hobby, I don't think it's that much.
I got two takes on this, and I kind of agree with what you do. So this is the way I think about it. That, like, I play football as a hobby as well. I play every week, like, without fail. Like, believe me when I say, if someone said Yu-Gi-Oh! Or football, I'm going to play football. And I have to pay to play. Do you know what I'm saying?
You go goals.
So just to play, huh?
Do you go goals?
Nah, I used to, but I just can't get there in the middle of the week. But I used to play goals.
We'll talk. Yeah.
But so I used to pay to play, and then on top of that, afterwards, like, it's a bit of a social event. So all the players that I play football with, we sit down, we'll have some, like, they'll put food on, we'll buy drinks. Do you get what I mean? Like, pineapple juice ain't cheap from a bar. Do you know what I mean? And I'm happy to do that. And by no means do I feel like I'm spending away my salary. And when I think about it, over a year, that probably racks up to more than what I play a Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck. Do you know what I'm saying? So to me, it's fine. It's fine. It's not hobby. But I think the main problem is, and I think I've kind of realized this more now, is for someone like myself, or for some Yu-Gi-Oh! Players, they're kind of like on the cusp of, like, competitiveness, but they don't realize. So when they're saying Yu-Gi-Oh! Is expensive, it's because they want to compete in it. They want to compete at the higher level, but they feel gatekept by the cards, so they get frustrated, and then they kind of, like, turn a blame and say, yo, like, I can't play, man. This game, I'm priced out of the game because I can't get an SP Little Knight. When in reality, you could get an SP Little Knight. Because I know I could.
Exactly.
I can't get one right now, but I could get one soon. Like, do you know what I mean? And I'm just choosing not to get one because I feel like I can play a deck that's equally as powerful without having to spend the money. Plus, I'm a bit clever. Like, I'll just take it with Dark in it, and I'll just use your SP all night. But
that's the real budget tips, isn't it?
That's the real one. Do you know what I'm saying? It managed to come back to my field, but what I'm saying is, like, it's completely in the player's hand how much money they want to spend. Now, if you are going to become competitive, you've got to be prepared to spend that money. And I think that's where we are. Like, people are going to locals, seeing these mad, crazy combo decks and thinking, I want to be like that, but then I can't afford it, and it's frustrating. Do you know what I mean? Whereas you was comfortable playing your free trap trick structure decks and, like, go with X1 and drop it, like, get to 2 and drop whatever. Do you know what I mean? So that's just my take on it.
So. And the other thing I'll also say as well, which I feel like everyone forgets when they say stuff like Yu-Gi-Oh! Is too expensive. It is very possible to play Yu-Gi-Oh! For an entire year and become incredibly good at it and spend no money by just playing Dueling Book. You can do that.
Yeah.
There are players who have done that. And that's the other thing. It's like, it's so optional. It's the same reason why when people complain about the price, so again, bringing it back to League, people used to complain about the price of cosmetics in League. They complain about the price of cosmetics in COD, and it's like, you don't have to spend that money. Like, you can just play League as a free-to-play player. You can just play COD and only pay the £60 to buy the game. And it's the same with Yu-Gi-Oh! You can just not go, or you can not go to events, but it's like, you can even just go to events, only spend £5 on entry, and every week, as Andre said, take that trap trick structure deck, and it will be fine. You won't do as well as you could have, but I mean, how many hobbies can you get to the top level of that hobby and barely spend any money? There's none. Like, if we think about Jesse Cotton, he's like the top echelon of Yu-Gi-Oh! Player. He's like really, really good, and he has a meta deck every format, right? this is like I don't think it's inaccurate to compare Jesse Cotton to like a top level like Premiership player or something like that, or a top level golfer or something. Can you imagine how much money they're spending on their hobby compared to Jesse Cotton? That's why personally, I don't. Admittedly, they get some money back because obviously they'll have a job and stuff. But even then, it's like I feel like the comparison is not close. Like I feel like, personally, I don't think it's that expensive. I think it's fine.
I do want to caveat that point a little bit. A lot of things that people look from the outside looking in at pro players who maybe think, I always see these pro players on different decks and whatever. I want to be like that. A lot of these pro players have sponsors in it. Same with pro footballers. A lot of them, they aren't paying for their, football boots or whatever. So that is always something to bear in mind. And it is always going to be something that. But I do agree with you for the record, Fabs, on the analysis there. I think part of the reason people are saying that is because they're paying the price mark on specific cards is very high.
Yes.
Like if I said to you two, would you rather pay £60 for a deck core, or would you rather pay £60 for a Little Knight? Which one do you think is the better value for money? Like, this is a genuine question to the both of you now.
And this is, I think, going back to what I was saying before, is the funny thing is, early in my Yu-Gi-Oh career, I would have said deck core. And I made that mistake. I have a whole box here of deck cores. The problem is, those deck cores don't win me any locals. So I buy those deck cores and I just lost bare. Whereas now, I'll 100% say SP Little Knight. I'm be like, what the heck? This card will just win me every game that I have it in. So now I definitely say SP. What about you, Andre? I'm
the same. And I think for me it's frustrating. Like, Dan can attribute to this. Like, I've got a TG deck in my bag that I take with me to every locals for the last 4 weeks, and I have not whipped it out.
Yeah.
And I will refuse to whip it out because I know where this is going. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Someone's gonna sneeze on my deck and end my turn. So I've got nowhere to play, and I'm just sitting on the deck core doing combos by myself. Do you know what I mean? And it's frustrating thinking I'd love to play this, but if I take this to locals,
you don't want to get mangled.
I'm just gonna get stomped, and someone's gonna shake my hand and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry, man, but cool deck," and I'm gonna be like, "Well, I didn't even have a chance." Do you know what I mean? So I was the same for a while, but now like I'll take the Little Knight or the Frost.
And I'd say for a lot of players, there comes a time when you realize in Yu-Gi-Oh where it's like you need to decide: do you want to have fun winning or have fun playing your deck? And if you want to have fun playing your deck, I'm still the head of the Dark Lord Discord, guys. I'm still there, but I don't say shit in that Discord because I realized that after a certain point, I'm as much as I like the way Morningstar and stuff looks, it's not fun when I do all this. Yeah, you do this inexplicable combo, and then they like normal summon a sprite monster, normal summon Nimble Beaver, and just out your whole board. It's not fun.
Yeah.
So it's like at a certain point, you have to come to a realization like, do you want to win or do you want to have fun looking at shiny cards? And I would say that the majority of players who focus on the meta and who are meta slaves and meta halls, they just realized early on that it's more fun to win than it is to play with cards that you like the artwork of. That's just life.
I think there are cases where you get lucky and the decks that you actually like do get good. So
right?
there is always that.
It just happens. I mean, I don't know if you guys have heard of this.
But I do agree, and I think it was something. It's definitely a mindset that I was in when I was becoming like I would never consider myself to be like a professional player, but definitely a more competitively minded Yu-Gi-Oh player. I'd definitely say I was in that ballpark of I'll just buy a new deck. Or I see so and so playing. Let's say, for example, Therion Punk like locals. I'm like, that deck looks sick. Like I want to play that. Buy the cards and I figure out I don't know what to do with it. And it's like I can't play it to X level because I haven't got like I don't know at that time like access code, the Brave Engine, whatever. Like, I think part of the reason I think that Age of Overlords specifically, the cards in that set have left a bit of a sour taste. I say the cards in that set, like the Horus Engine and Little Knight, like it's just because we've had the rarity collection come around and like look, people are buying Barones for £2.
Yeah,
like, that's a sentence I didn't think I'd be saying.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And I think go on.
I was gonna say, I do think there's a little caveat to this whole discussion, and I think it's to do with the way that Konami's releasing the cards. So if I'm thinking about the Horus Engine, which was at one stage not considered to be typically competitive, you're looking at like, I don't know, the best part of like £70 for a playset of, is it MCA?
Yeah, it's been a little bit all over the place, but you're looking at on average probably about £75.
And I don't like the way that they've done that with the cards, because typically if you wanted to fool around with those cards for a hobby, like that is expensive to complete the core. Like VS, for example, that's a classic example. Like
Yeah.
they made those cards very, very difficult to obtain, and by that metric, it's pumped the price up. So for someone who just wanted to play for fun, they are being like, I can see why if that specific strategy speaks to them, I can see why they'd find it frustrating or they'd say it's a bit
100%.
expensive because Konami have done that intentionally. Do you know what I mean? To try and sell a product, but it's meant that people who do enjoy that can't then just jump in and like have some fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I do kind of understand that, but then if you're really that versed into like getting a hold of that strategy, you will just go the 9 yards and just like obtain it. Do you know what I mean? So I get it. I understand from both sides.
Yeah, I do think actually Vanquish Soul's a really good example of that, because I feel like if they were to release that as, I don't know, maybe like in a main set, I think that's a deck a lot of people would have actually picked up, because it is genuinely like just aesthetically cool. Playstyle is very different. Like, it's cool, but £400 for a core on release, like just because it's got 7 ultras in a side set, like forget that.
Which is
that's the frustrating thing. It's not necessarily that it's
going as well at the moment.
Yeah, Centurion's like that. I mean, Centurion, like, I don't want to sound rude, Andre, but you know the OCG has proved that Centurion may be a little bit better than Vanquish Soul, so maybe people are going to be more likely to pick up a Centurion core. For the record, I think that Centurions are just not going to live up to the hype.
So the thing about that deck is, I think it will be meta because it is a consistent deck with a consistent win condition and a good resource game. But yeah, I don't think it will dominate the meta. It doesn't seem strong enough to dominate. But it's definitely something that if you're going to an event, for example,
you need to have it very in mind.
You need to know what's going on. Otherwise, you're going to take some clappings that you won't enjoy from that deck, which is unfortunate.
Yeah. When Hot Red gets banned, how good will the deck be? I don't know, because Hot Red's not banned, so I'm going to have to deal with the deck with Hot Red.
So what I would say is, for example, funnily enough, I'm going Bologna, so I've done a lot of testing. And I would say, for example, in answer directly to that is, even without Hot Red, the deck is good. Because you know what the deck does? It's a 1-card combo that makes a monster that draws and pops. That's
pretty good.
And so it's like, even before you get to the Hot Red part, the deck is just good because it just has a good resource game. They can chuck in a bunch of hand traps. Every single card is redundant. So it has that advantage. Whether that kind of translates and ends up being a thing later is hard to say, but I will say it's the kind of deck that I tend to not like playing against. I find it very irritating. It's just like, this deck is like, it's like you hand trap them, then they just have another card that basically says the same. It's like every card reads Alistair the Invoker basically.
It is, isn't it? It is. Kind of reminds me of when Numeron first came out. There was a load of starters for it, locked you out the game.
A bit like that,
but Numeron flopped, so. But I do think this is better than Numeron by like a lot. Like, I'm not saying that I don't think it's shit, because I don't think it's incredible either. Yeah. We're going a little bit off topic here, so going back to what we were saying about the market, like, do you think Yu-Gi-Oh is expensive right now? Yes or no? I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's probably at a pretty decent price point, minus maybe 2 or 3 cards.
Yeah, my answer would be that it's expensive it's expensive if you compare it to other card games. But if you compare it to a hobby, no, I don't see it as expensive.
I'd say it's not expensive. Just because you put in as much as you want to, but I do understand where some players would be a little bit frustrated with how the product is released, which can then in turn make it expensive. VS being my example, do you know what I mean? So I do get that. I do understand where they're coming from.
Yeah. I'd say I'm pretty much like in a similar boat. I think for what you're actually buying, I think it's a bit much. But then you can think about that about anything. Do you know what I mean? A house is just bricks. So is a Blue Eyes deck, but I do think like just play Yu-Gi-Oh for whatever reason you want to play. If you want to be the Don who like takes like jank deck to locals and like has a good time and enjoys that side of things, like crack on. I'd recommend heavily that you play online, but crack on in it. But whereas if you're like looking from it like from a competitive mind state, then I think you as frustrating as it is, you get out what you're willing to put in. Which sounds weird because Yu-Gi-Oh doesn't actually have any monetary prizing, but I digress. And I think I had a point then, but it's gone. which is really good for me being a podcast host. So yeah,
I was
and
gonna say just a little segue before we move on. I feel like
What?
Konami recently has been releasing product at like an incredible pace, and I think that might have
Mm.
something to do with the contribution to the feeling that it's expensive, because we've had in the last, I don't know, 6 weeks, we've had Age of Overlords, Rarity Collection, and then Valiant Smashers,
yeah,
like very very close. I think it's like 2 weeks apart or something like that.
yeah.
So like as a
And we got the
potentially
Viking
competitive.
structure deck in a couple of weeks.
Exactly. So it's quite a lot of releases. So if you're trying to keep up with the meta, you start to think to yourself, "Oh, I got to spend money on this card and this card." So and it's the tempo that you do in that. If it was like over a couple of months, maybe like 1 or 2 sets, then it's a bit more manageable. But when it's like 2 weeks apart, then people start thinking, "Yo, this is almost like a." Do you know what I mean? Like I'm looking after a young child. Do you know what I mean? So
I get what you mean. You know, I do think that's a really interesting point because this is the first in like a while I've felt like, whoa, come on, like, can we just like have like a week without the format changing or something new coming out? So I do agree with that actually. Like, it does feel a lot of, I guess, like fatigue. Not, it's like choice fatigue, but like
yeah.
buyer's fatigue, I guess.
Yeah.
If that's a thing, I don't know if it is.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
What do you think, Rob?
Yeah, it's interesting because on one side, I don't know.
On one hand,
On one hand, that's it. Yeah, I was like, what am I saying? On one hand, it's nice to have loads of new products. On the other hand, it's also, I do get the fatigue thing, and especially from a competitive standpoint as well. It's a bit frustrating when the meta keeps changing in a way that is hard to predict, because every deck that comes out is every set that comes out has something relevant for the meta. But I don't know. I think I think it's the lesser of two evils. Like if I would rather a scenario where there's lots of stuff coming out and I have lots of options. And also, one thing that tends to happen, even with power creep, is if you have more frequent sets, it helps the price stabilize a lot better, because what happens is SB Little Knight comes out. The next set, there's a card that's just as good, and then that gets the demand. And then next set, there's a card that's just good, and that gets demand, etc., etc. So even from a budget player standpoint as well, you want there to be lots and lots of products shooting out. So I'm on both sides, to be honest, but in general, I can see both sides. Maybe I'm leaning a bit more towards that. I do like it. I like diversity. I like having new shiny toys to play with, but I could see why someone wouldn't like it, and I think they also make sense.
Yeah, I think as well. I think they're trying to get the balance in that, because there's been times where they've left it for a long time, and it's felt like, oh my gosh, we just need a set. This is so dry, but they've just left it, and we've sat in a format where everyone's like, "Where's the ban list? This is dead now. Yu-Gi-Oh's dying." You got what I mean? And now it's kind of the opposite. It's like, whoa, like the meta's crazy. Like I don't even know where to begin. Like, do you know what I mean? So it's
like buses, isn't
difficult
it?
to get right.
Like you wait for one for like ages, and then like five come at once.
Come on there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
That's actually
And
probably
then
the
someone
most
sit next to
accurate
you.
way to put it. Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of which, do we have any ban list wishes, woes, wants, etc.?
I've not thought about it, to be completely honest with you. I think I'm going to let mine bubble over the Christmas period. I haven't really thought about it, other than like, I don't know, some sort of hit to the top decks like we would normally. Yeah, a ban Hot Red, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna say Calamity needs to go.
I think I'm definitely in that place as well. Like I'm still a bit confused at why it exists. It's like, why is this still a thing? Like again, like we say Centurion. I think Centurion's an interesting deck with an interesting gimmick. And then it hot reds you, and it's like, well, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know this is what we were doing. So, I think that needs to be. I think as well, there's one thing Konami does need to do, which I don't know. They seem really, really reticent to do it. And at one point, I used to think, oh, what they're scared of is putting a bunch of stuff in the meta and changing it hugely. But I don't think that's actually what they're scared of. And so the thing that they need to do is they need to do some cleanup where there's some cards in the meta like Hot Red, like Eradicator, like Skill Drain, stuff like that need to be dealt with. And then there's some cards on the list that also need that same treatment. And I don't know why Konami hasn't addressed these things yet. It's really confusing to me. It's like, for example, August, everything from TOS format, apart from Thunder Dragon and August, is off the list. And I refute anyone who tells me that they're holding back August and Thunder Dragons because they'll absolutely slide the meta. It's like, you're chatting shit. Like, it's not true.
Look at the OCG.
Yeah, exactly. They're not doing anything, and so
Yeah.
I do think Konami needs to address some of that stuff. I don't know why they're not addressing it. Maybe you guys can give me a reason.
I think they're afraid of like not being able to push products. Imagine if we had three misc,
Fair.
like
That's actually
if you had free. If you had free misc, like dinosaur players are gonna be beating their chests at locals,
Do
playing
you know how
topless.
cheap that deck is now to buy since Wild Survivors? You can pick up a whole Dino Core for like less than a meal deal.
That's a great description.
It would.
I love that shit. Man.
That's what I'm saying. But then, would you be interested in new products when you know that your deck is always going to be like competitively viable?
But this cycles back around to what we were saying, though. Like, you buy one deck that's pretty good, and you just, you like a car in it, you add new bits to it over time. Mm-hmm. So maybe that is a good thing, but not with Dino, bro. Not with Dinos. Fuck Misk, man. But yeah, I get what you're saying. I do completely get what you're saying.
So I think it's the product. I think with the TCG, the OCG have a different structure. Like it's similar but dissimilar at the same time. Whereas TCG, they just love profit, and like there's nothing sells profit like than shiny cardboard. Difficult to obtain shiny cardboard.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that I think it's also just a competition thing in the OCG, and this is what you'll see in the OCG is that there's so many other card games that can compete in that arena that it's just very easy for them to manage. Like it's easy for them to say, okay, you know what, we're going to give you a rarity collection in pretty much every set, because if we don't, you're just going to play a cheaper game, and we're going to make sure our releases in general are structured better, because again, if we don't, the guy next door will do it. And not having that competition in TCG land is causing really big issues, I think. So yeah,
I know what you mean, because the market's kind of there, isn't it? I know what you're saying. Yeah. Interesting.
But before we go into Am I the Arsehole, have we got any more topics that we wanna jump
on? I think we've touched everything in terms of what I had for today. Good to hear that everyone's pretty much on the same page when it comes to, is Yu-Gi-Oh too expensive? Living is too expensive. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's the. Let me not say what I'm thinking.
Yeah, go play Master Duel, innit?
maybe that's the solution.
Yeah, maybe it is. Yeah. That's what Konami wants us to say, innit?
Yeah.
Look,
however, Konami, if you do want us to open any boxes on video, please do get in contact.
Of course. You have our details.
Konami, send me all these guys getting the openings. Like, send me the stuff, man. I'll do it. Like, I'll do it all day, every day. Like, you guys will be shocked. Yeah,
definitely. I need to have that U-Bell reveal for Phantom Nightmare, man. I need it.
Yes. Funnily enough, I actually think that U-Bell deck will have a big impact on the meta just because it's the best generic Super Poly target now. Super Poly entire board, like. Yeah.
And it's like the deck is literally just like Mekanko for people who like GX.
Yeah,
I've been testing the deck since it was released, announced, I should say, and it's so fun. But let me not get into a love letter to the next format that isn't here. That'll be that's for another episode.
Yeah. Right. Okay. So I have a very interesting Am I the Arsehole? And I think this one's good because we have someone who's actually a parent, and it's something I've always wondered about. So this one it goes. Am I the arsehole? Am I the arsehole for telling my 6-year-old that Santa isn't real? So, I'm a 39-year-old man. My wife is 32 years old. I was watching the movie Elf with my wife and my daughter. We reached a scene where the elves are working on Santa's sled to make it fly, because not enough people believe in Santa. 1 second, sorry. My daughter latches onto this and keeps asking, is Santa real? Her mum said yes. Daughter kept asking me. I said, Santa's a great idea and a lot of fun, but it's not real. For context, I didn't get to celebrate Christmas until I had a family of my own. In my religion, they prohibited Christmas. And so in our family currently, we do a big Christmas, as big a Christmas as we can. For the past 5 Christmases, I've gone along with the idea of Santa with my daughter, even though I don't like lying to her, just to kind of hold the peace. At first, my daughter was fine. at first my daughter was fine, and my wife gave her a long explanation as to why she's lucky that we get her presents, even though Santa's not real. My daughter didn't like this explanation and got upset. We told her that some parents work really hard to convince their kids that Santa exists. And that she shouldn't try and convince other kids otherwise. I don't understand. This bit is confusing. I don't know if he's talking about his daughter or his wife here, but yeah, whatever.
We have the crux of the matter.
Yeah, and then eventually my daughter asked if learning Santa wasn't real changes how she feels about Christmas, and my daughter said kinda. And my wife thinks I should have lied. I'm not the arsehole.
Interesting. Interesting. All right, so as the resident parent,
Yeah,
I would have first and foremost effect veiled the wife. Nah, to be fair, I would have had a discussion with my wife before I would have said anything. Like, we're at this point at the moment. Do you know what I mean? And I'm not really a big fan of Santa myself. Like, I was told, I got 3 older brothers. I was told from very early on, probably the same age as this girl, Santa ain't real. Like, they put me in a headlock and took me to the room where the presents were. And that was the end of the dream for me. But I was a different character. Like, that was just fine. I was all right with it. Do you know what I mean? I was more interested in spending time with my family, which is what I've always known Christmas to be about.
Yeah.
But especially as well, my mum, well, I grew up in a very religious household, do you know what I'm saying? So even my mum was a bit dubious about giving me the Santa treatment, do you know what I mean? And she was very much happy to say, listen, Santa ain't real. Like, I'm getting you presents, do you know what I mean? I just like the idea of Christmas, everyone getting together. But yeah, I wouldn't say he's an asshole for it. I think he's more of an asshole for not communicating with his wife. You don't just make that decision by yourself.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially if you've gone along with it for 5 years. You can't just turn around at the blink of an eye and just say, you know what, he ain't real. You know what I mean? We ain't even got a chimney. Like, you can't just, you have to, that has to be discussed. You get what I'm saying? So he's an asshole for that. Not for telling her.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I really like that mentality as well of a united front. I think that's a really big part of it that comes up. That like it's an us thing. It's not a you thing. It's like, what do you think we should tell our daughter?
Yeah. Because like family's like a unit, right? And especially I imagine like with your co-parent, like you're both in it together, right? Yeah. Like you want to be making sure you're both on the same page with things like that.
Yeah, and it just harks onto some of the other stuff that could potentially happen. Like, if he's just going to go out on a whim and make a decision, like, I could see why she'd get frustrated. Do you know what I mean? She probably got frustrated because he's done something like that before, because if it was just a one-off, she'd probably think, what did you say that for? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just carry on with her life. But if he's just gone out on a whim and done it, and she's moaning about it, then it could...
They weren't even talking about Christmas. Just like, here's your cornflakes. Santa's not real.
To be fair, they were watching Elf.
That's even worse.
But yeah, I think an interesting thing as well is he said that he didn't get to celebrate it. So I think it's almost kind of like, oh, this is just how I was raised, so this is how I'm going to do it. Like,
do you think it's maybe a projection on that half part then?
What do you mean?
Like, do you think maybe he's projecting like, oh, I didn't get to celebrate Christmas, so you shouldn't get to believe all this Santa stuff because I didn't. Maybe I'm deep in it there, but
no, 100. I think that's exactly it, and it's sad because, like, no offense, but that's not your daughter's problem. That your child.
Yeah, you're right. Like, I do think
he went along with it though, so I don't know why he just decided that then, like, it was time.
Yeah. I don't know what.
If you felt like that, then that should have been done from a while ago. Don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He's led her down that path, and then all of a sudden it's just like slammed the brakes on.
Yeah.
She's falling out of the cart, and he's like, "Yeah, it's your fault." Like, yeah, this is.
It's a bit like mice and men, yeah.
Yeah, it's rough, man.
Yeah. One thing I will say is I've never liked the idea of like a made up like character getting all the credit for presents that like parents have gone out of their way to work hard to get. And I know when I was younger, my parents would just say like Santa doesn't get the presents, he just delivers them. So I'd be like, okay, Santa's bought these presents, but my mum and dad have bought them or whatever. So I don't know. I think Santa's a bit of a freeloader, to be honest. So I do get where he's coming from.
It's mad because like we like in my house, I've got 3 daughters, and they've always known that Santa's got them a present, but we get them presents Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? He's dropped him off something, but it's very clear that as parents we've gone out and got you this because we recognise that you do well at school, you try, you're respectful. Do you know what I mean? So we make a point of that, but I don't know if he's done that. So then it would be a thing because he's probably thinking, yo, this guy just comes around once a year with me through the chimney that we don't have, eats our food without us telling us, and then he's dropping off presents for my children. Like,
when you think about it, it's really fucking weird. Yeah.
it's
mad, isn't it?
Yeah, like what's going on? No.
What do you think, Fabs?
No, I'm in agreement. I think for me as well, it's just a lot of the times. So, to the point you made that you both made about gratitude, for example, the only thing I would say is that for me, when I was younger, like, so there was no Santa in the house. There was no Santa. But even as my parents got me presents, I wasn't grateful when I was younger. I didn't learn gratitude from my parents to everything they've done to me until probably about a year or two after I left uni, when I started fending for myself. And every day I get more and more grateful to my parents, and I think, whoa, like, Dad, you were dealing with this. Like, sometimes I'm just doing life, and I'm like, this is long. And then I think, as I was in the house and I was giving my dad attitude, as like my mum would ask me to help her with something, and I would like screw my face, and I'm just thinking, I can't believe I did that. Oh my days, like they did so much.
I get it.
Yeah, and so I don't think that. I think whether it's Santa or not, I don't think the kids are going to be super grateful. I think you learn gratitude as you grow up and you just get into those shoes. Some children luckily have that EQ younger, but a lot of people are like me. I think I know this from the younger people I work with and I deal with. A lot of people are like me, and they just don't learn their gratitude until they grow up. And so the idea of Santa in itself doesn't bother me, but I do think that I don't really like how he's handled it. And again, it's like what Andre said initially is the big thing for me. I really like the idea of a united front. It needs to be you and your wife decided Santa doesn't exist in this house, or you and your wife decided Santa is a thing. I don't agree with you just springing it on, and then it's like your wife is there like, Santa's not real. Yeah, so. Well, is what it is. I don't know. Parenthood is always a mad one. It's something that's always on my mind. Like, I don't know how you guys deal with this. Like, people like you, Andre. It's in my head. I'm like, I don't know how you guys make this transition to parenting, because it's like I've had recently 3 or 4 friends who've just had babies. I'm looking at them like, you're a whole dad now. Like, that's mad.
Yeah,
Did you get it?
It's
Sometimes I look in the mirror and think that to myself, especially as I'm getting my TG debt ready to take to locals.
Yeah, you get me. It's like you're a dad. So yeah, I think but
it must be one of those things you only understand like when you become a parent, innit?
Yeah, 100%. And I think having multiple children as well. Like, third child, I'm so ready for. The first one, I didn't know what I was doing. I think she was like, I don't know, 12 months old, and I'm trying to give her pizza, and I don't know what I was doing. I'm just lost.
I'll try to do that as well. Are they not allowed to have pizza at 12? Or is that,
they can, but like she had a bit of a lactose intolerance, and I didn't realize that was a thing. And then I'm changing her nappy, and her nappy looked like rice pudding. It's wild. It's wild.
Yeah, it's not straightforward, man. That's the real one, man. That's the real game changer.
Yeah.
But with that, guys, let's close off this episode of the Yu-Gi-Oh show, guys. It's been a very, very awesome episode. We may have another episode before the end of the year. Christmas is.
We'll have the Christmas special, Fabs. Come on.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah. Actually, you're right. We're gonna do the Christmas special. You're right. Yeah. But thank you guys for watching, and for those of you who have come up to me or sent me a PM, I've had like several people send me PMs and just like really nice messages and stuff. Saying love to the group and stuff like that, and just that you enjoy the episodes. Thank you. It's actually really encouraging. Like, sometimes when we do these shows, it's like, for me, it's like I see only like 40 or 50 people watching. I'm like, is anyone really watching? But there are actually people watching because they send me messages. Yeah. So it's very appreciated. Yeah, we're gonna keep shooting at this because so it's a good time. But yeah, any last words from any of you guys?
Happy Thanksgiving to all of our American listeners. I know we have some. Subscribe to Fabs, subscribe to Jamothi, subscribe to the Sanctum Squad, because I keep saying this, we're going to come back. We will next year, I promise.
Yes. And just another caveat, if you see us at any events, just
say hi.
Come and say hi. It's all right.
It's always welcome.
All right, so you're always welcome.
Yeah, all right, guys. That was Yu-Gi-Oh show episode something. I'll talk to you guys all soon. In a bit. Peace.